Coach Teresa Ford here, and this is the Guiding You Home podcast. This is a thought-provoking and often humorous approach to moving you closer to the only one who can genuinely help you live a life of abundance and prosperity. Sound good? Yeah, it's you that needs to go within so you can sit in the driver's seat of your life, co-creating with God. So make room for more light and knowledge. As you continue to listen, you will discover elements of how to lead with your inner light, how to act on your specific promptings, and how to follow your spiritual intuition so you can fulfill the measure of your creation. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. Hello. Today we're going to talk about your one job. We literally have one job in order to create the things we want in our lives, to become the people we want to become, to fulfill the measure of our creation. But we sure do overcomplicate things. We really like to get into all the details and try and manage every aspect of our lives rather than simplifying in order to keep the stress low and the fun high. And when I say fun, I'm talking about the things that are enjoyable, like earning money and having a full bank account and enjoying your relationships and finding more ways to love than not. I'm talking about reading a good book or investing in a food program so food shows up on your doorstep and you're super excited to have something tasty to eat. I'm talking about fun things like even noticing that you're waking up with purpose and even exercising because it feels good. When our stress is low, we're more apt to do things within our power to create more things that are good in our lives. But if we're overwhelmed by life, it's because we're asking for more than we're allowing for. That is the definition of overwhelm. I'm going to cram more stuff into my new year than I ever made room for. Sound familiar? And I'm not even just talking about New Year's Eve goals. I'm talking about spring. It's like we're going to love on life. We're going to get outside. We're going to do more in nature. But you haven't really made space for it. You still are working full time, or you're still taking care of your kids, or you had an illness come up and you've got to really pay attention to that. And we're like, man, I'm not even living anymore. I'm not getting the stuff done. Some of us are even in the middle of managing relationships where there's manipulation and control and the really tough stuff to figure out, like, why do I feel crazy? We're still not living, right? But if we simplify the management intake, like we think we got to manage everybody and everything, not so. First of all, it's impossible. Second of all, it's not your job. The one job you have is to manage the who, what, and why. And then you got to lean heavily on your higher power here because you are seen, you are known. But we don't act like it. We act like we are it, and if we don't make it happen, then it's, just not going to happen. But that's not true. I used to micromanage my life so much that I was everything to everyone all the time, and it's like, woo, burnout showed up big time. So if you're not really interested in being burned out or feeling overwhelmed or creating more stress for yourself, then we got to scale this back. We got to simplify. If you're in charge of your who, what, and why, then who are you going to give the how, when, and where to? Right? If we're like, oh, this is what I want, and this is how I want it, and this is, why I want it, the only thing that is yours is knowing why, of course. You gotta, that's the driving motivator, right? That's the dream. That's I have this in my life, which I don't love, and I want that in my life because I know I'll love it more. So that's the why. You got to know why you're motivated. But the who is you. The who is always you. And in the last episode where we talk about the pitfalls of manifesting, you're the only one, you're the common denominator, right? You're the one in the way. If you're in the way, nothing happens. If you're out of the way, it all happens. But again, this is just one more step in the process of understanding how to make it happen. And really, we don't make it happen. We allow it to happen. There's a difference. Can you tell the difference between efforting to make something happen and allowing it to happen, which is just really being simple, being fun, being interesting, being yourself, rather than trying to be everything to everyone all the time to make things happen. That's a lot of work. You can feel it, right? You know where this fits in your own life. But when you're just allowing the how, when, and where to show up and trusting that it will, because you're taking care of your half of it. You only have one half of the equation to pay attention to. That's your one job, is your half. The who, what, and why. So who is you? The what is your desire. I want more because I know I'll feel better for having it. So what's the more? What is that? Is it a new cell phone? Is it a different relationship? Is it a new job? Like what is the more? That's the what, and why do you want it? You have to keep that one in mind because it's going to make you feel good. And so when you go down that lane to talk about what makes you feel good, you are kind of going on this rant as if it's already happened. So let's say you want to lose weight. Let's say that a better body and a better health program is going to really make you feel good. But you've tried dieting and you've tried these things and they're on and they're off and they're kind of sporadic and you're like, when's it going to happen? How am I going to get it done finally once and for all? Well, that's going to be the frustrating part because you can hear just asking those questions feels frustrating. But if you're like, okay, I am the common denominator about what I do attract and what I don't attract. And even when you're attracting stuff in your life, is it the stuff you want or the stuff you don't want? Because you're the common denominator there. And we talk about that based on the thoughts that you're having, that what you focus on grows. So that was last episode, episode 11. You're going to really decide, are you the reason you're not getting the things you want? But this is episode 12, and so we're moving on to a new concept, which is, do I want it? Yes. Have I asked for it? Yes. Do I think I can get it? Yeah. How do you really feel? Yes or no on that one? But the why is going to take you to the yes. If you're like, well, why do I want it? Well, because I just want it. And it's okay to just want it. You don't have to have this big reason to justify it. You never have to justify your wants. You can have it because you want it, because it's going to make you feel better, because it's going to help you grow, because it's going to just up-level your life. It's going to uplift your spirits. It's going to increase your mental capacity to have more fun in life. Like, whatever it is that you want, you can have it. The answer is yes. That is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that, well, we can't have things we're not supposed to have. Well, that's not true. You can have all kinds of things that really aren't good for you. So when you ask for something, the answer is yes. And usually we're talking about asking for things that make us feel better. So if the answer is yes, then you're the variable. Are you going towards it or away from it? And the why is going to get you closer to it than further from it. So when you're talking about the why, and we started on the analogy of having better health and, having confidence that your health is going to allow you to do everything else. Because when you have your health, everything else is possible. When you don't have your health and you have to scale it back to take care of the nuances about your body that are not functioning properly and they keep you out of the game, so to speak, yeah, not everything is possible. So that's why I'm choosing this topic, not because it's a weight loss topic. So let's say you want a better health and you're like, man, why do I want better health? Well, because I'm suffering by comparison. Ooh, how does that sound? How does that feel? feels heavy, right? But if you're really using why correctly, you're going to be talking about why it's going to be in your best interest. Well, because I'm going to feel more like myself. My inside and my outside are going to match. I feel like I could be young and useful and capable on the inside, and the outside is not looking like my inside. And so I'm going to match inside and outside. I'm going to be more able-bodied. I'm going to be more engaged. I'm going to feel more confident. I am going to really test my skills and get out there and do something that is going to maybe push me outside my comfort zone, and I'm really going to enjoy it. I'm going to be more engaged with my friends. I'm going to feel more creative, and I'll give myself permission to do other things because I was holding back before. Like, you start talking yourself into a place that feels better. And that's really your only job. So who you are, get out of your own way, right? What you want, the answer is yes. And why you want it is because you will just feel better. But you have to know how it's going to help you feel better. So, but how it manifests is not your job. When it manifests is not your job. And where it manifests is not your job. You're just being you because it's who you are. It's how you live. It's what you do. What it is the what of your behavior. Right? When I lost 8 dress sizes, it wasn't because I felt small or meaning I had lost confidence. It wasn't because I had low self-esteem. It wasn't because I felt ashamed to be around the other moms. Even though all those things were present, that wasn't the what. Who I was felt young and youthful, energetic and optimistic, and I really missed that about my outsides. What I wanted was to feel confident again, to make myself match, to be congruent, to be in personal integrity with myself. When I say I'm going to get fit and I don't keep that promise to myself, then I'm out of integrity. So I really wanted to push my personal values and put them to the test. That was the what about getting my health back. And the why was because I could really embrace my wholeness. I would feel, authentic. I would feel much more authentic because there was just too much shame that I was hiding for being inauthentic about my inside and outsides not matching. So those were my who, what, and whys. And why? Because I want to move, because I want to have fun, because I want to feel unburdened. I want to feel light. Those were all the asks that I was making to the universe. And so what did I do about it? I just started embodying those things. I lined up with it. I got connected to my who, what, and why, and that was my only job. When it showed up, not my job. How it was going to show up, not my job. Where it was going to show up, not my job. I didn't even know. I wasn't in fitness at the time. I was just a stay-at-home mom that was giving everybody all the attention, and I put myself on the back burner. So when I finally just got involved in my job, it was not overwhelming. I was not managing the scale. I was not managing the food and trying to eat less of it. I was just eating, and I was like, well, it's not rocket science to eat vegetables and proteins. It's just not. It's very easy to find in grocery stores. It was very easy to put on our plates, and it was very easy for me to consume it. Very easy. That's how you know you're in your lane. You're in your who, what, and why. Because it's easy. It's not overcomplicated. It doesn't increase your overwhelm. It doesn't add stress. It was just easy because we were going to eat all day anyway. And I used to eat, chips and cookies and, some good meals, but you know, there was a lot of late night cereal and stuff like that going on. And so if I'm going to eat anyway, then it's no extra work to make it healthy versus unhealthy, right? So I was living in my lane, and I would just like, what sounds fun? What sounds interesting? It's like, oh yeah, I think I'll put on my running shoes and my spandex and put my, you know, jam and music in my ears, and I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air. So I started sprinting around the blocks. And if you listen to my intro story, I wasn't really sprinting. I was lumbering around the block, but it was where I started, and it felt good. And every day I just let it be what it was. It was simple. It really simplified things. And I had it done before the kids got out of bed, so I didn't worry about it and obsess about it all day long, going to bed going, yep, didn't do my workout today. I didn't worry about it anymore. I made time for it. It fit easily into my schedule because I made sure that the kids got in bed so I could get in bed, so I could get up early, so I could go work out before anybody got out of bed. I made my system work for me. I made space for me. And that's probably the biggest part of the what, is making space for yourself, because it allows the why to be possible. And then it also allowed the other half. Like, your body's going to do what you tell it to do. So if you eat yucky stuff, it's going to look fluffy. And if you eat protein and vegetables and things that are nutritionally dense, it doesn't have a choice but to shape up, especially when you add some intense exercise to it. When I say intense, I'm talking about 30 seconds of intensity, which anybody at any age, in any condition, can do, because it's going to be at your pace. Right? We're not talking about an elite athlete, the mentality of an elite athlete if you're deconditioned. I'm talking about you in the state you're in, that trying to sprint for 20 seconds or less is going to be intense. So that's the intense exercise, because it feels intense to you, right? So when you're doing those things, like the how, when, and where, they just manifest. They literally show up. You figure out how, because you're like, well, what would be fun for me to do? The exercise program you'll do is the one that will work. So you're like, what would be interesting for me to do? And I chose, you know, on foot outside. And I loved it. So that's how you know you're doing it right. You love it. It's sustainable. It's something you'll keep doing. And I did that for 6 months, and it really paid off. The when it happened, I had no preconceived ideas about when. I didn't even care anymore. I was like, I'm being me. I'm living my best life. I've created space for myself, and I know why I created space for myself. So then the only thing to do was to keep doing what was fun. So I did it. It was fun for me. I'm not a runner by nature. That's not fun for me long distance, but short sprints and a high heart rate and a recovery, and high heart rate and recovery, that was fun for me because it didn't make me feel like I wasn't doing anything. The high heart rate told me I was. Just because I didn't go 6 miles, 6 miles is not the benchmark if it's not fun for you. So you got to do what's going to work for you. And I just kept doing it. So when my fat loss showed up was about the 6-month mark. And that's not to sugarcoat it, because it took another 6 months after that when I discovered how to add muscle to my body using some weights. So it was nothing less than a year, which is a real expectation, is in about a year, but I didn't know that then, so I wasn't worried about when it was going to show up. And the how was just making itself known to me day by day according to my consistency. And where it was going to show up, I didn't know if I was just going to get a slimmer waistline. Where it showed up on my body was everywhere. Where it showed up in my life was everywhere, meaning I was confident in most aspects of what I was currently doing. And this preceded my awakening in 2008 when I had to go get a job and my career found me, because I didn't have a career at the time, but I was confident in the things I was doing currently in my life as a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling my kids. So the universe, if you will, the natural laws of attraction showed up in the how, when, and where. And I had to trust that if I would just be me, if I would just go get the wants in my life and remember why I was doing it. I was doing it to set a better example for my kids. That was probably the original biggest why. It's like, I got 5 sets of eyes watching me. How will they know how to take care of themselves if I don't do it in front of them? So my why was my kids to start with, but my other why was I need to be congruent with who I am on the inside and how I look on the outside. So it really wasn't about a size, even though when I got married, I really liked the size that I was because I felt it was a true reflection of my personality, my characteristics, and my total self. But turns out that because I forgot about the how, when, and where, I literally ended up being a much smaller size than when I got married. And I wasn't trying. There was no trying. It was effortless. I was just doing what I loved, and it was easy. So think about the times in your life that you just did what you loved. You were really engaged in it. You didn't necessarily write down the who, what, and why. You didn't really write down the how, when, and where. You just did something because it felt good. And it was super easy, right? Even just going out to the store and you're like, this thing that you've wanted for a really long time just appears and you're like, oh, snap it up. It was so easy. You didn't go looking for it. You didn't obsess about it. You just let yourself be who you are, and the what you wanted showed up because you wanted it. Sometimes that's the only why. You just wanted it. You knew it would make you feel better. It's funny how things just appear, and when it's easy, it's because you're not trying to manage the whole thing. You're just a co-manager. You're just taking care of your half, the who, what, and why. And the rest, you got to give it away and let it just show up. That is the rule of manifesting. It's not magic. It's not being lucky. It's not even a coincidence. It's literally letting go of the massive effort it takes to manage all of it and simplifying, reducing the overwhelm, reducing the stress, and you just find yourself having fun and things are just easier. That is the hallmark of manifesting, is it was just easy. You were enjoying your life, enjoying yourself, getting congruent with who you are and what you want, and it just shows up. So when I say it just shows up, my health didn't just show up the next day, but according to the law of attraction, it showed up eventually because it didn't have a choice. I was doing all the things that fit people do to get fit. Fit people were once deconditioned. We tend to see the finished product, right? They're fit. And you're like, oh, when am I going to get there? And we want it tomorrow. We want it yesterday. And that's not realistic. That puts you in overwhelm. That creates stress in your life. But if you act like a fit person every single day, fitness does show up. But you don't get to dictate when, where, and how. You're only taking care of yourself in the day that's been given to you. Does that make sense? So think about the things that you want and how you want to manifest them. You don't get to manage the how, when, and where. It will show up if you act in line with the thing you want. It cannot stay away from you. It must show up in your life when you're just who, what, and why all day long. I'm just being me. I know what I want, and I know why I want it, and it all makes me feel good, and it's just effortless because I'm not really trying anymore. I'm not efforting at managing steps and managing the scale and managing how it makes me feel about myself and managing if I'm good or bad or right or wrong or any of that. Like, that's just brain damage. So just calm down, take a deep breath, and enjoy your life, and the good things will show up. You do not have to try at them, and they will come to you quite easily. So now it's time to put that into practice. Let's get going and let's get living. Thanks for listening. I invite you to leave your feedback and share your aha moments as you listen to this podcast. Also, you can access more information or any of the programs, courses, or worksheets that I've mentioned on these episodes on my website at teresaford.life. Or what I would really love is for you to connect with me on Instagram at teresaford.coaching and on Facebook at Coaching with Teresa Ford, so I can give you more interesting insights and further coaching to help you fulfill the measure of your creation.